Well, welcome to my world. Come on in. It's Mondays. It's Arts and Culture Day. And today we have a very, very special day. It is Memorial Day 2021. And I believe it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, the day after. But today it's been a very special day here at our home. We're celebrating our first Memorial Day without our mother. And Dad and he just went to bed. So it's been a long day, but we're excited to share the rest of our day. So welcome to my world. Every year on the last Monday of May, we celebrate Memorial Day. It's a day for honoring and mourning people who have died while fighting to keep us safe. It's a time many visit friends and family who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And my parents never forgot this day. It was their culture, and it is our culture as years went by. And they had presidents that kept reminding them, as John F. Kennedy did years later. And he said, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter the words, but to live by them. And that's exactly what's happened year after year that's gone by on this special day that my parents have instilled in us on this particular day. It was originally known as Decoration Day. It originated in the years following the Civil War and became an official federal holiday in 1971. Many Americans observe Memorial Day by visiting cemeteries or memorials, holding family gatherings, and participating in parades. And unofficially, it marks the beginning of summer. And that's, in Minnesota, that's a really big thing because, as many of you know, summertime is very dear to us because we seem to have, very extended winters. But for us here in Minnesota, we love our seasons. My sister and twin brother have taken over the caretaking of the graves for our family here in our family history. My mother did it for most of her life, and caretaking of our parents now and grandparents this year. It was my sister and my twin brother that have taken this over. In the years of my mother's passing, this past year, they purchased 2 extra plots and placed a bench and put all of 3 generations of our family's names on it. So then, therefore, when we do go there, we can now sit and ponder our culture with our history while caretaking their final resting spot. So we have a place, and they all would have just loved this, as we have multiple family members that have participated in the service. So celebrating history and creating more is what we are doing. So welcome to my world. Come on in. This is going to be something good, I promise. Make these 7 days be your traveler's rest. Today I'm your coach, your head coach, and I'm on a mission while in remission, celebrating history and creating more. This is going to be something good, I promise. We are about to board a train. Yes, and we live right by a train. And it's funny because in our town, there was even a time frame here not too long ago that they wanted to stifle the train whistle. And oh boy, we, of course, did not get involved any longer in protesting, but I was very much not for that. Because in our family, the train whistle holds a very dear and sacred spot in our family. There's always so much to say on holidays, but on Memorial Day in our family, it was a day to sit still. Flooding memories of days gone by, painful, heart-wrenching memories, and a longing in my parents' faces that I will cherish the rest of my life. It can only be in this generation, I feel some days, but as I grow older and witness more, I can see it in the mothers and dads I meet, the same look, that sitting still look, and longing, painful, heart-wrenching look. Just think, our world has been at war most of our lives. Peacetime has been no time in my child's life, but it is distant. And in our culture, it was intended to make it as close as we could by bringing it to our ponder chairs. When I was given a year to live many years ago, this was a big thing, and I on purpose wanted my son to have it close to him, near him. I wanted him to know just how near war was in my life, as it was such a big part of his history. And since that first month when we were on our own back, then he was only 1 year old when I moved into my parents' home. And back then, our first month here, the towers came down. Our family knew war was just around the corner. It was soon to be shock and awe. And I wanted to think of a message then. I wanted to write him letters those early years, and I wanted to pick a theme that he could comprehend young in case I was not there. I wanted him to read these letters when he got older to process. So I picked one theme back then, and the theme I picked during those early years was just one sentence: war hurts kids. As Mother Dad and I sat those years, Memorial Day after Memorial Day, year after year on our ponder chairs, I drafted scrapbook pages as he grew to record our current war, while recording my parents' childhood memories that I knew oh so well as I sat in those younger years on the front porches of our trailer home and then in our first real home. And I was young then, but I'll never forget these stories. One day I will tell you about my dad's silver dollar, but not today. That is still too painful. So we'll start with my mother's 16th birthday and her Uncle Ray. The details are all in journals his daughter made, and I have them set in a reverent place in my home. But my mother's grandmother lived to be 90, in her late 90s. And she wrote to a president back then during the war, day after day, endless letters, begging him to bring her dead child home. As the years passed, they found Uncle Ray, and he was to come home on my mother's 16th birthday. And to hear my mother tell it, as her mother and grandmother waited with her at the depot that day, all dressed so proper, waiting, as we hear yet another train whistle. They were clinging to one another as they waited. Soon the fully dressed officers opened that train door, and instead of a pending coffin that came out of the cabin door, holding what looked like a shoebox, and my mother's grandmother collapsed on those pavers into her daughter's arms. Mother said it was something that moved in slow motion, waiting years thinking it would be him, and then it was just pieces of him. These are unspoken, dripping memories that changed my mother deeply. Forever, they took nothing lightly ever again, Mother said. She said everything she did from that day forward, she did on purpose. That day changed her forever. She vowed that day that she would take care of family first, no matter what. That became who she was that day. Dad was just 17 when he became a merchant marine. He had one test out in New York. He was to jump on the very top of a ship into the ocean. If he passed that, he was to hop on board and head out. 50% of those ships made it back. That's why the wages were so high, money he had never seen before. When he landed on Normandy Beach, it was about 3 miles out the day of the invasion. 3 days later, he landed on the beach, and he was the cook for the captain of this particular ship. And he kind of bonded with that leader of the ship, and the man took him under his wing. And that particular day, and this is a story that he doesn't share often, but on that particular day, the day after, 3 days after this horrible day, that man took my dad under his wing and said, "Bud, you're going to come up here with me." And Dad did. He walked over these dead bodies and he made it up to the gravesite of these hundreds and hundreds of graves that these men dug. And Dad said it went on for hours. And he said it wasn't the graves. He said the memories that haunt him. He said it was watching all the men being carried to the graves and the men that he had to step over to the graves. And he said this is the memory that haunts him and why this day is so grave to him. Memorial Day. When Mother was back home years before this Uncle Ray came home, it was her cousin Sonny that came to live with him when he was returned from captivity. It was her mother, Grandma Hazel, that nursed him back to health. He was 6'4" and 80 pounds and had to be carried to the dinner table. It was the Bataan Death March he ended up surviving, and it took so long for him to heal. It was dinner time that Sunday night, and there was always food to eat. Gardens and farming and hard work in those poverty growing up years. During the war with neighbors who ran to help when those war kids came home, made each meal a gift. And when the potato slipped through his fork and fell on the floor, it was his next thing that Mother will never forget. Sonny's frail body fell to the ground like a rabbit. He jumped onto the potato and ate it from the floor. The room of kids were frozen, staring at the bones from his back. Her mother turned to the cook stove as she burst into tears, the first the kids had ever seen. They all helped him to the table. Mother said this lesson was why, when we were young, in our growing up, we were never allowed to take more than what we could eat, and we were never allowed to waste. War hurts kids. So today on Memorial Day, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter the words, but to live by them. John F. Kennedy. So today I want to share that years go by with each gift of a new Memorial Day that I did to help instill these lessons of our culture. I kept a scrapbook with my son, and I recorded each year that I was given out loud the names of the fallen soldiers, and I had him meet POWs year after year to hear the rare voices. And today I'm just going to share a couple of the scrapbooks that I made my son year after year when he was young. I don't know what you do for your Memorial Day, but these are just some of the things that we did when he was young. Again, these are things that we can do in the silence of our home while we're sitting still. And in a way, it was kind of fun to be sick. I guess you can do a lot when you're sitting still. Some people are so busy. But peace and love. Here are some of the war dead here. And then also statistics. I'm really into taking stats. But we would stand up tall and I'd have his red, white, and blue on, and every year, and he'd say read the names. And I think about the moms and dads like my Grandma Williamson. And I read her letters to the president. And my son knows their names. And I guess that's what's exciting to me is to be able to raise our kids in the culture of how your past history. So just think about today, and as I read your Facebook post and I celebrate your veterans and your cultures, and being able to share mine. What is your culture with Memorial Day? If you have served, thank you. War, it does hurt our kids. And as I sat with my dad today, I didn't bring it up. I made him a strawberry milkshake, a really big one. He ate every single drop, and I totally understand why. He's having card club tomorrow. History, sometimes it's just too painful on these big days. But, maybe like in 2 months or 3 months, we'll talk about New York and his boxing days before he went on that ship. And we'll talk about some of those stories. But on this day, I don't bring it up. I haven't been to the bench yet at the cemetery to see Mom there. She totally understands why. But I love the train because it reminds me of how to live life on purpose. Sometimes we all have to live by our own gratefulness in our own way. And I am so thankful to be here with all of you and to have this YouTube to be able to share these out loud. I love my scrapbooks and I love to be able to express myself with writing, and I can't wait for you to read my book. So find your rocks, grab your ball, and build a team. Look for a feather. Hope is all around. So jump, bounce, and fly with me 7 days on purpose. I teach it, preach it, and repeat it with the balance. Like, share, and remember that Mondays are for those who dare. Be avant-garde, be rare, and remember me. Sincerely, Coach Colleen, number 33.